G'day, welcome to Matt's workshop. Today what I'd like to do is just give a little bit of basic router knowledge that I've been picking up, and just thought I'd share it. So what I've got here is a chopping board. I'd like to put a nice chamfered edge around it, 45 degrees. Also I'd like to make it so that it's easier to pick up off the bench by putting a little rebate hand grip or pick-up spot there. So what I'm going to do is set up the router with the router bit and show you what I've learnt to be the right way to use a router. So first of all, what you see here is the direction that the router bit will be spinning, and that is in a clockwise direction. So to avoid the router running away on the wood, the best way to do it is, if it's running in a clockwise direction, work around the board in a counterclockwise or anti-clockwise direction. So what I'm going to do here is just set up the router. So first of all, what we'll do is plunge the router down on the side of the piece of wood, so that we can get the correct height and depth that we want. So what I do is set the depth, lock it into place, and just in case I want to pop this back up, I can set this height adjustment stop and lock it into place so that when I come up, when I go back down, it'll be where I left off. So just plug this in, put the safety gear on, and I'll show you what we've got. So before I do that, I'll just quickly show you what I have with the router bit. So it's a 45 degree with a ball bearing on the end. That ball bearing will run along the edge of the wood, and so the router bit will follow the profile of the wood. So if there's any dips or bumps in it, you'll also get dips or bumps in the profile you create. So it is important that the board is straight. I've run that through the jointer just to clean it up and make sure that it's dead straight. So like I said, the best way to do it is, if it's running clockwise, run around the board in an anti-clockwise direction. So I'm just going to turn the router on. I've plunged it down to the depth I want. I'll move in close to the timber and then work my way around it. So there we have it. I've put a nice 45 degree bevel or chamfer around the edge of that board, and it was done with the router running around the board in a counterclockwise direction. The next thing I'd like to do is just show you how to put a little handle or recess in there on the router table. So the first thing that you need to do is set the height, or what is going to actually be the depth of cut. So putting the chopping board against the edge, you can see that I've adjusted it so that it's approximately half the depth of or thickness of the timber. So now what we need to do is work out how far we want it to cut. We could do it freehand, but you have the chance that it might keep going or kick out on you. So I like to just limit my cut with some blocks, and I'll show you how I do that. So my chopping board is 18 centimetres wide. So we know that 9 is halfway, so that's going to be the centre of our cut. If I want it to come down to, I think I'm going to go down to 4 centimetres each side from the edge, so we'll mark the timber at 4 and also again at 14. So we're going to have a rebate underneath the chopping board in this location. So then, working that, we have a look at the router blade and line it up with the edge of the first cut, of the first mark that we have there. Holding that into place, we put a block of wood here, and clamp that into position. Now, some router tables that are not second-hand like my one already have these little blocks that you can move and adjust there, but this is make do. This may be easy to set up on your own router table this way. So next thing we do is move the board along, have a look at the router blade, or router bit, it's probably the right term for it, and line it up with the end of the second mark that we have there. Holding the board in place, put the block of wood, grab another clamp, and clamp it into position. What I'm doing here is just adjusting the fence. Probably should have adjusted the fence before I put the blocks on. However, what I'm doing is using a metal ruler, holding it hard up against the fence. I'm bringing the fence back towards the router bit so that it touches the back of the router bit. This way I know that when I move the piece of wood along the fence, that the router bit is going to cut the piece of wood and not leave anything behind, like just a groove or a spare bit of wood behind, I should say. So yeah, just make sure that that's all adjusted before you set up the blocks. So when we're freehanding the router before, we were going in a counterclockwise direction. Now what we've done is we've flipped the router over. So if we look at it from the top, it is now spinning in a counterclockwise direction. The motor hasn't changed, it's just that we've turned it upside down and we're looking at it from the other side. So in that case, we'll move the piece across the router bit from right to left. Just needs a little bit of a sand up there, and it's done it quite nicely. So if we have a look at that with the rule, we set it up so that it was 4 centimetres. I've got 4.2. And we'll say just about 3.5. So I've moved the block accidentally. Sometimes also what happens is the sawdust gets stuck up here, and if I don't pay attention to that, I get a short cut. So all I need to do now is just readjust those blocks and redo it just to make sure that it's nice and even. Makes a nicer presentation. So just with a little bit of adjustment, I've just finished this off. So now we have 3.5 centimetres, a little bit bigger than I originally wanted, so 3.5, and on the other side 3.5 or 35 mils. So we've now got it even on both sides, and that wasn't too hard, just moving the other block across slightly and then just remeasuring with each cut. So thanks for visiting Matt's workshop. So today what we've done is just add a nice chamfered edge to the edge of this chopping board. Also put in some little handle or rebates so that it's easy to pick up off the bench. So just as you can see there, a little bit of a groove. Just makes it easier when you're picking it up rather than try to flip it up from the side where there's no gap. This is just a small cheese board I've made. Nothing special, but great little Christmas gift idea. If you have any other questions or things that you'd like to know about how to do on a router, I've previously done a video. You can look it up by pressing up here. That's going to be where you'll see me using the circle cutting jig. This is something that I've prepared earlier today, just another little serving board, cheese board. It cuts nice circles using the circle cutting jig. So have a look at that video, and don't forget, if you like the videos, please subscribe and press like. Leave any comments below. Be happy to hear any feedback. Have a great day. Cheers.